Right now, you're trapped inside a vault with 3 walls: length, width, and depth. Everything you've ever known exists strictly within this geometric cage. Descartes defined this limitation mathematically. A dimension is an independent direction, intersecting every other direction at a 90-degree angle. Modern physics shows this 3-directional grid is incomplete. Our universe's architecture requires up to 11 dimensions. Yet we never experience our own dimensions fully. When looking at a solid object, your brain only processes its 2-dimensional exterior shell. You never see true depth. To understand these higher, unseen directions, we must rebuild reality from the ground up, starting at absolute mathematical zero and climbing the dimensional ladder one rung at a time. Ascending this mathematical sequence systematically deconstructs the laws of physics, stripping away physical matter until human existence is reduced to pure information. We begin at absolute mathematical zero. A single, static coordinate with no space or movement. Adding one axis extrudes the first dimension, a rigid line. Pulling that line outward creates the second dimension, a flat plane with 0 depth. An entity living on this plane faces a strict perceptual boundary. Lower your eye to a table's level, the circular shape flattens into a straight, one-dimensional line. That is how a 2D observer sees its entire universe. A 3-dimensional observer looking down at that same flat plane sees everything at once. What a 2D entity perceives as an impenetrable square, we see as completely exposed from above. Adding a third orthogonal axis introduces depth, instantly constructing the immersive physical space you are currently experiencing right now. There is a specific physical reason our universe operates on 3 spatial axes. In 1920, Paul Ehrenfest proved that adding a 4th spatial direction destabilizes gravity, causing planetary orbits to instantly unravel. The instability extends to the microscopic level. With more than 3 dimensions, electrons cannot maintain stable orbits. Atoms would immediately fly apart. Like the flat entities stuck in 2 dimensions, we are living with a biological blind spot. We cannot look down on our reality from a higher plane to see inside closed structures. What you perceive as the physical universe is a mathematically restricted slice of reality. It is a necessary geometric constraint that allows atoms to bind and biological life to function. To map the 4th dimension, we must look at time. In 1908, Hermann Minkowski demonstrated that time operates as a rigid physical spatial coordinate, perfectly fused with our 3 spatial axes. As humans, we process this axis frame by frame. A 4-dimensional observer would see the entire span of time simultaneously, exactly how a video editor views an entire film strip laid out flat on a monitor. Map your biological body onto this 4-dimensional axis, and you form a massive, continuous physical structure stretching from the moment of your birth at one end to your death at the other. In this geometric model, the past is not gone, and the future is not yet arriving. Every moment of your existence coexists as a single static object. There is no flow, and there is no motion. The 5th dimension introduces quantum mechanics, mapping perfectly onto physicist Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation. Here, quantum probability and conscious choices emerge as literal physical directions. At every single point where an event has multiple outcomes, that 4-dimensional timeline splits, compounding infinitely into a massive, static crystalline structure. This geometric tree contains every physical iteration of your life. One branch holds the sequence where you accumulated massive wealth, while another extends into a reality where you were never born at all. To a 5-dimensional observer, concepts like fate or destiny carry 0 weight. Every possible outcome is locked in place as a distinct, navigable set of spatial coordinates. Your sensation of making choices, moving forward in time, is a localized biological filter. In the 5th dimension, all quantum possibilities already exist physically as a fixed, unchangeable geometry. We reach the 6th dimension when the fundamental constants of physics, like the speed of light and the strength of gravity, become independent variables. Recall Ehrenfest's rule. The moment you alter those mathematical constants, the rules governing atomic cohesion fail, rendering complex chemistry impossible. Without uniform physical laws to bind carbon and oxygen, biology cannot hold its shape. Your physical body completely dissolves. At this coordinate, human existence is reduced to pure information, a persistent mathematical pattern spanning across a landscape of shifting physical laws. The seventh dimension represents the absolute convergence of all these variables. It compresses every possible universe and every variation of physical logic into a single, unified point. Action, consequence, and change lose their meaning here. For something to happen, it requires a transition from one state to another. In the seventh dimension, every theoretical state is already permanently actualized. Think of it as an infinite, frozen library containing every book that could ever be written, using every alphabet that could ever exist. Nothing is being added or created. The totality of all data simply is. Reaching this mathematical peak completely strips away individual identity. You physically transition from a biological organism into a single, static node within a map of absolute totality. If pure mathematics allows us to derive our way up to a seventh dimension of absolute totality, the logical question is why the geometric progression would stop there. It doesn't. When physicists use string theory to calculate the fundamental nature of particles, the mathematics explicitly require a universe containing 10 or 11 dimensions to balance the equations, which introduces a massive perceptual paradox. If the physics of our universe operate on an 11-dimensional framework, why are we rigidly confined to interacting with only 3 of them? The answer lies in a principle called compactification. Higher spatial planes can exist all around us, physically present, but curled up so tightly that they remain completely invisible to our macroscopic scale. Consider a standard garden hose. From a vast distance across a yard, it appears to be a one-dimensional line. You can only measure its length. But as you step closer and zoom in on the surface, a new direction emerges. It is actually a 3-dimensional cylinder, allowing movement around its circumference. The extra dimension was always there. You were just too far away to see it. String theory suggests the spatial fabric of our universe works exactly the same way. The extra mathematical dimensions are curled up infinitely small, folded into complex topological shapes that exist at every microscopic point in space. Your brain was never designed to process this microscopic architecture. Human neurology evolved millions of years ago specifically to track macroscopic, 3-dimensional threats in an environment where survival depended on calculating basic depth, not navigating quantum geometry. Our inability to perceive these 11 dimensions is a hardwired evolutionary constraint. The absolute structure of reality will always remain unobservable to human biology. But this dimensional blindness is a biological requirement. The strict 3-dimensional illusion we experience is the perfect, fragile incubator necessary for atoms to bind, chemistry to function, and consciousness to exist amidst an 11-dimensional reality.